This is me, your host, Tristan Andrew, here to present, for the first time, a survey on Camille Saint-Saëns for the holidays. We will start with his role in Halloween. Let's get into it. If you have seen any of my previous videos, you have probably guessed that I have two passions: art music and holidays. Specifically, the holidays I celebrate are Christmas, Halloween, Earth Day, and Easter. My other passion is art music, of what many people think of as classical music. Does art music and holiday music actually coincide? Western arts music originated in religious ritual, expanded in courtly entertainment such as dance and opera, and then moved into the growing middle class with concert hall and stage productions. In our own time, art music has become a staple of the cinema. It is not surprising to find art music as an important element in holiday celebrations. What may surprise you is what music I have found can be considered as holiday music. I am happy to say that some of the music of Camille Saint-Saëns fits right into my holidays of Halloween and Earth Day. If you aren't already familiar with Camille Saint-Saëns, born in 1835 and dying in 1921, it is worth looking at his background. He was a musical prodigy. He made his concert debut at 10 years of age. After studying at the Paris Conservatoire, he followed a conventional career as a church organist, including a stint at La Madeleine, the official church of the French Empire. After leaving the post 20 years later, he was a successful freelance pianist and composer, in demand in Europe and the Americas. Saint-Saëns was something of an anomaly among French composers of the 19th century, in that he wrote in virtually all genres, including opera, symphonies, concerti, songs, sacred and secular choral music, solo piano, and chamber music. As a young man, Saint-Saëns was enthusiastic for the most modern music of the day, particularly that of Robert Schumann, Franz Liszt, and Richard Wagner. But he was not generally a pioneer. Instead, he helped to revive some earlier and largely forgotten dance forms like the bourrée and the gavotte. Saint-Saëns was a scholar of musical history, committed to the structures worked out by earlier French composers. Rather than being a rebel, he arguably synthesized the best of Wagner within French forms. Indeed, some see a foreshadowing of works by Igor Stravinsky. And Lécy in Samson. Samson sought to reconcile Wagner's vision with all that came before. In truth, he was a conservative who wrote many famous scores scattered throughout the various genres. While he was influenced by both Liszt and Wagner, he later came to dislike the sway Wagner held over other composers. In his conservatism, Saint-Saëns clearly followed a path of nostalgia in his compositions that spanned the entire 19th century. Saint-Saëns held only one teaching post at the École de musique classique et religieuse in Paris, and remained there for less than 5 years. It was nevertheless important in the development of French music. His students included Gabriel Fauré, among whose own later pupils were Maurice Ravel. Both were strongly influenced by Saint-Saëns, whom they revered as a genius. Saint-Saëns' role in Halloween-related music isn't always obvious, except when it is. When I think of Halloween art music, I look first to obvious themes of death, destiny, and the supernatural in the works themselves. When that doesn't work, I look for traditional musical references to such themes or settings in minor keys, unsettling rhythmic structures, etc., etc. One of the oldest themes I associate with Halloween is the medieval plain chant Dies Irae. Generally found in a few bars of music that suggest death and what comes after. When you are listening for it, it is amazing how often these evocative bars crop up. And Saint-Saëns was definitely as aware of this theme as I am. Saint-Saëns' 1874 tone poem for violin and orchestra, Danse Macabre, was based on an old French superstition. Death appears at midnight every year on Halloween, calling forth the dead from their graves to dance for him while he plays his fiddle until dawn. It is a natural addition to Halloween's musical repertoire and serves to demonstrate the 19th century fascination with death, destiny, doomed love, and other aspects of high drama. There are musical jokes, such as when the solo violin enters, playing the tritone, which was known as the devil in music during the medieval and Baroque eras, the ages of discovery through invention. The violinist's E string has actually been tuned down to an E flat to create the dissonant tritone, foreshadowing Claude Debussy and Václav Nijinsky's Afternoon of a Faun. And Maria in Leonard Bernstein and Stephen Sondheim's musical take on Romeo and Juliet, West Side Story. The piece is energetic, and at its midpoint, there is a direct quote played by the woodwinds of Dies Irae, the plain chant from the Requiem, or service of the dead that we associated with Halloween. The piece makes particular use of the xylophone to imitate the sounds of rattling bones. Saint-Saëns uses a similar motif in the Fossils movement of the Carnival of the Animals. Does the Dies Irae always signal a Halloween-related work? Dies Irae would appear again in Saint-Saëns' Organ Symphony, or Symphony No. 3 in C minor of 1886, which he dedicated to Liszt's memory. Liszt had been supportive of the composer, and Saint-Saëns was deeply appreciative. Despite the theme's appearance, most agreed that the Third Symphony was intended to be non-programmatic. Likewise, later uses of the work never hinted at any Halloween elements, so I can't make a good argument for including it in the Halloween playlist. So where do we find his other Halloween-related music? Some of opera's greatest composers found inspiration in biblical stories, such as Giuseppe Verdi's Nabucco. And later, Richard Strauss's shocking Salome. Saint-Saëns' best remembered opera also has a biblical context. We get our Halloween association from the story's dependence on the concepts of death and destiny. Saint-Saëns' 1877 opera Samson et Dalila is based on the biblical tale of Samson and Delilah, found in chapter 16 of the Book of Judges in the Old Testament. It is the only opera by Saint-Saëns that is still regularly performed. The work is a synthesis of Wagnerian drama and French and Italian operatic forms, containing skillful structures and eloquent melodies. As one of the brightest jewels of French opera, the work is considered a dream of antique purity and modern orchestral experimentation, which thoroughly demonstrates Saint-Saëns' compositional capabilities. While best known for its arias, the opera includes the now traditional ballet. Note how Saint-Saëns' use of the ballet contributes to our Halloween theme. Before the blind Samson destroys the temple of Dagon in the last act, the Philistines dance to an orchestral Bacchanale. This segment from the opera, an eerie and frenetic dance by the priests that savagely foreshadows the violent climax, is a musical addition to our repertoire. We can also take note of the obvious sense of death and destiny that underlies Samson's story. There would be no other terrifying opera based on a biblical event until Richard Strauss's Salome of 1905. It is easy to see how Danse Macabre fits into Halloween. You can't have a more direct association than dancing with or for the dead. While the Bacchanale from Samson and Delilah is more indirect, I believe the argument for including it into a Halloween playlist is legitimate. Samson is a tragic figure whose flaw of arrogance led him to fulfill a destiny of epic destruction of his enemies, as well as himself. The idea that we are all somehow at the whim of forces beyond ourselves underlies all of Halloween's history and its association with the supernatural. Of course, with music like Saint-Saëns, we can take some pleasure even in our fears. Next time I will look at his contribution to Earth's Day, the Carnival of the Animals. I hope you enjoyed the dark works of Saint-Saëns, but our survey is not yet finished. See you next time when we conclude our survey with his iconic Carnival of the Animals. Remember to subscribe, comment, and keep listening. Ha ha ha!